back from New York, back from Philadelphia. The NHL won't be back for another 2 weeks, and that's an awful long time to be wondering where this team is exactly. Good morning to you. Good Monday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot of Penguins. It comes your way bright and early every weekday. If you're into football and or baseball, I also offer daily shots of Steelers and Pirates, the other two teams in town that I cover. I hope you'll give those a listen as well. The outcome of the 3-2 loss to the Flyers not having at all reflected the visitors' level of dominance out there. Shot attempts were 91-43 in Pittsburgh's favor. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. They could have had the 7 out of 8 points that Brian Rust had told me out in Salt Lake City he'd hoped this team would achieve with these final 4 games. They ended up with 5 out of those 8. They could have been within 4 points of the second and final wild card spot. Now they're 6th. They could have sent the strongest available signal to Kyle Dubas that this team can make it to the playoffs, deserves a chance to make it to the playoffs without any further, Lars Eller type of deals, where it's just the player going out for just draft picks. Instead, the NHL trade deadline will come upon us March 7 before you know it. So what does a 6-point gap mean? What's the value of making the playoffs versus not making the playoffs, or better position? What happens if they do make it? Are they worthy of it? Are they good enough? I asked Erik Karlsson, plain and simple, is this team going to make the playoffs? This was out in Philadelphia after the game.
Is this team going to make the playoffs?
What?
Is it going to make the playoffs?
I hope so. That's the plan. It ain't over until the fat lady sings.
Is it good enough?
Is it good enough? Right now, yeah, I think so. We put ourselves obviously in this situation where we're going to need a little bit more than good, and we're going to need a little bit of luck, and that's unfortunate. But again, we got to just focus on one day at a time and one game at a time. And I think right now everybody's focused on getting to see some sunshine.
And there's some PC to that answer. There's acknowledging that it's more of a hope thing than it is a prediction type of thing. There was that interesting qualifier that I thought he had in there when I asked if the team is good enough, and he said right now it is. And that's a sentiment that's actually pretty common in that locker room. These guys will tell you that this team right now, even though it's like 95% the same players, is a much better one than the one they had 6-7 weeks ago. They've gotten a lot tighter. They've gotten a lot more accountable to each other. They've gotten a lot more aligned and comfortable with each other on the ice. But as you also heard him say, it's the same group that dug themselves the hole that they have. So we can all wonder what the season would have been like if the Penguins had started out anything like this, including, it should be noted, when it comes to passion, not just performance. But that's moot. That's in the past. Nothing can be done about that. This is their current circumstance. I have, and I am not ashamed to tell you this, almost no concrete thoughts on any of this. I really appreciate and respect what this group is doing right now. I happen to think it would be uplifting for everybody involved throughout the organization if they were to somehow fight their way into the playoffs. But I also very much see what the flip side of this debate looks like and why. If you can remove the now from this, if you can remove even just things like personal elements, I can sit here and fantasize about a Rickard Rakell trade that would blow you away. I could look at what the Penguins got for Marcus Pettersson and Drew O'Connor. I could look at what the Sharks got from the Stars for Mikael Granlund and Cody Ceci. Both were first-round picks. And who knows where a market for Rakell could go. Rakell right now has 25 goals and is in the NHL's top 12. If he went on the market, he would be one of the better players all season to get moved. And I'm qualifying that only because Mikko Rantanen and Martin Necas already went. Rakell is right now a top-tier goal scorer in the NHL. He is a game changer for any team that gets him. Any team that sees itself as winning the Stanley Cup, or, man, we're just one of these away. And when teams get in those positions, they can all kind of unearth their own little Jim Rutherford within themselves and say, I don't care what it takes to get that player. I'm going to get fill in the blank, except don't put Derek Brassard's name in. That's an intoxicating thought as it relates to the future of the franchise. And you know what? If you're getting that much for him, you might as well get a piece or two that helps out in the present. You might as well trade for prospects that are closer to the NHL as opposed to more draft picks. But then I'm also going to tell you this. It's been just a joy to be around this team these past 5 games, 3 of those on the road, and to get to see what it is that they've become when they easily could have, let's be honest here, buried themselves, meaning quit, a long, long time ago. They didn't do that. They didn't come close to doing that. And there's a part of that, maybe a little naively, that I'd like to preserve. When we come back, J1Q. This episode is brought to you by Bet Online, your number one source for all your summer sports needs this season, from Major League Baseball, golf, NHL, NBA playoffs. Get the latest odds and lines, including all team matchups, player props, odds on just about everything that's out there. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to get in on the action. Bet Online, where the game starts. Today's J1Q comes from AJ, who says, DK, is it important to keep a culture where winning matters? That's why I want to see these Penguins make it to the playoffs. When you see teams who are in total teardown mode, they often get stuck there, kind of like the Sharks. Most NHL drafts are crapshoots, and with the lottery, you aren't even guaranteed to get the top pick. AJ, this is maybe, other than the Sidney Crosby factor, the most compelling argument that someone can make in favor of just, let's see if they can get back there. Let's see if they can do this. You mentioned the Sharks, and I think that's fair because once they lost to the Penguins in the 2016 final, I mean, they had a couple of extra gasps there with that group, but not a whole lot more. And then, whoa. And it's not easy to come back from that. I look more to the Red Wings. I just see what happened in Detroit after, 2 decades really of excellence. They had themselves, just as the Penguins had, a second life, a second generation of great players pass through there. And then, nothing. And it's been Dylan Larkin and a bunch of nobodies until recently. Earlier this season in Detroit, I actually happened to be up there when this occurred. Steve Yzerman changed head coaches, bringing in Todd McClellan. And at the press conference, he sat there and told Detroit area reporters that he really couldn't understand what was happening with the Red Wings earlier this season when they just looked like the same version of the Red Wings we've been looking at for almost a dozen years now. He said, none of this lines up with our expectations, with our metrics. We feel like we've got good players in here now. We feel also like we can't cross over into that next tier. And what I was thinking as he said that was, well, dude, I mean, you've been living, not him, he was in Tampa for most of that, but you've been living, the Red Wings have, the same spot for a long, long time. You've been losing and really losing for a long, long time. And that sets in. Take it from somebody who also covers a certain baseball team around here. That sets in. You don't want that. You can pretend, as I think a lot of people do, that if the Penguins were to go through some sort of total teardown, that they can just go ahead and suck and lose 60, 65 games next season and then just flip the switch the following season. No. Do you have any idea in the world of organized sport at any level how much intangibles mean? Do you have any idea what kind of damage would be done? What kind of infighting would occur? What kind of trade me out of this place would happen? You don't want that. You don't want that for a year. You don't want that for a month. Great question. I appreciate you. I appreciate everybody listening to Daily Shot of Penguins. We'll do another one of these tomorrow.